Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. Today we are here for my draft analysis for the IBL Season 6. This is an upload required Wi-Fi league run by Eric, or Neon Zero, or Heavy Metal Pokemon, whatever you want to call him. It was originally created by Brendan, or Dark Devil 26, but I believe he had to step away. I can't remember if he stepped away after Season 5 or the D-League, but he stepped away after one of those two due to personal reasons, which is completely understandable. So, yeah, and now I am in this league, doing this alongside the other two Wi-Fi leagues I'm doing at the moment. Kind of regret joining free, but since PCL is coming to a close soon, it's fine. But anyway, let's go through who else is in here, and then I will go through the team. So, for the other players in here, we have the Star City Archers, coached by Mid Pokemaster. We have the Coquitlam Red Gyarados, coached by Howler. The Los Angeles Valientes, coached by Jack or Gray. The Kansas City Kingdras, coached by Clutch sometimes. The Miami Ments, coached by Oglebina. I want to say, I'm not sure if I just butchered his name. Sorry if I did. We had the Los Ampharos, coached by Dreadful Dragonite. The Lawrence Talonflames, coached by Garchomp the God. Me. The Reno Raikou, when I said me, I meant San Diego Sneasels was coached by me. The Reno Raikous, coached by Kohan X, or Kohan, is it Kohan X? Yeah, I think it's just Kohan X. Then we have the Miami Malamarins, sorry, coached by Tone. The, oh god, I'm gonna butcher this name, Groningen Glades, coached by Lux, and the Slovenia Slowbros, coached by Marol. So, yeah, go check all of them out. They will be in the description. So, let's get right onto the team. So, for my first pick of the draft, I decided to grab Zygarde 50%. I've wanted to use this for a little while now, so I decided now is going to be the time that I tried out this Mon. I'm pretty excited to use this. It gives me a few options with items and quite a few options with moves. Items wise, you know, I could run like Banded, even Scarf potentially, Z-move, I guess even Life Orb or like Lefties. Lefties with like Subcoil is also pretty decent. Move options, you have multiple setup options with Dragon Dance or Coil. And then offensive wise, you have quite a few different options. You know, moves like Outrage, Earthquake, E-Speed, Crunch, I'm pretty sure it gets some form, yeah, Superpower, Stone Edge, and mainly 1000 Arrows, which I believe is its best move, just because, you know, that would normally, of course, you'd want to be switching in your flying types to take a ground type move, but of course you can't do that with arrows, as it just hits the flying types down to the ground. And for ones like Skarm and Steeler, that is incredible, as it can actually still beat them, which, you know, wouldn't be able to do without arrows. So, that is very nice. The only thing I don't think that is very good with Zygarde is, of course, its ability. Aura Break is one of the most useless abilities in the league format. The only time you could ever have use for this ability would be if it was an Ubers League, and even then, you know, it's only going to help you with like a Yveltal or a Xerneas, and Xerneas is still going to blow you back, and Yveltal is... I feel like Zygarde could pretty easily win the Yveltal 1v1 anyway, and I don't think Yveltal's ever going to really be clicking dark moves against Zygarde. It could probably just run like HP Ice for it instead. So yeah, its ability's useless. Stats-wise, Zygarde has some pretty decent stats. Bulk-wise, you know, we have base 108 HP, which is nice, base 121 defense, which is really nice, and base 95 Spadef, which is alright. Base 100 attack definitely isn't the best, but it still can break down those walls if, you know, it needs to. Of course, it mostly will. But with setup, you know, base 100 becomes a lot more powerful. Base 81 special attack isn't great, but I don't really plan on running like special Zygarde. I might one week, depending on what happens. I'd be down to use Core and Force Zygarde at some point, but we'll see what happens there. And base 95 speed definitely isn't great. It does outspeed quite a few mons, but unfortunately not being able to outspeed base 100 definitely isn't the best thing. But yeah, hopefully I can get around that. And I mean, after one Dragon Dance, it still outspeeds base 100s. Of course, Scarfers of base 100s would still outspeed it, which sucks, but, you know, we will get around it. Next up, we have my Mega pick, and I can never ever pick a Mega that isn't Venusaur, you know? It has to be Venusaur. I need to actually try out a different Mega at some point on Wi-Fi. Tried Medi at the start of UPBA, dropped it for Venusaur within 2 weeks, but that's not the point. I love Venusaur. Mega Venusaur is amazing. Fig Fat is an incredibly good ability. You know, Fire and Ice would be super effective against Venusaur, but because of Fig Fat, I believe they only do like neutral damage, which is really good, meaning that I believe Venusaur's only weaknesses are Flying and Psychic. There might be one more, I'm not too sure. I'm pretty sure it's just Flying and Psychic. But yeah, and that's very nice. Move pool wise, this thing does get some pretty decent options with moves like Synthesis, Leech Seed, Toxic, Sludge Bomb, Giga Drain, Knockoff. Earthquake's pretty common for me to run on Venusaur. Hidden Power, of course, is always a nice bring. And it also gets Reflect. It actually gets both screens, so that's pretty nice. Roar is also pretty great, so you know that's some pretty nice options for this mon. Stats wise, this thing has some really great stats. The base 80 HP has got to be its weakest stat. Definitely isn't good for a mon that you want to use as a wall, but I do believe its defenses make up for that with base 123 defense and base 120 speed def. Base 122 Spatak also is really good for something that you're normally going to use as a wall, and base 100 attack, you know, that's the same as attack stat as Zygarde, so, you know, that's interesting. Base 80 speed definitely isn't too high, but it's actually pretty good for a mon you'd use as a wall. Most walls are a lot slower than this, so having a pretty fast Mega, not fast, but, you know, not like really slow, is pretty nice. So, yeah. Moving on to my pick 3, I decided to pick up another tier 1, which I believe is going to pair pretty well with Zygarde, and you know, it's actually a dark type, which I keep forgetting to draft a dark type, and setup Psychics are a huge issue for me. But with Weavile, I believe setup Psychics are going to be a bit easier to deal with. Items wise, I would mainly think that, you know, the main ones would be Choice Band, Life Orb, maybe Muscle Band. Those will probably be made free. There's probably another item or two I'm forgetting about. Maybe Sash. I guess Scarf, but it's so fast already. I don't think I ever want to really run that. But I know Scarf has been, you know, a set that I've actually seen people use before. It's pretty okay. But move-wise, for Weavile, it's a pretty good Pokemon move-wise option-wise. That I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, yeah, it gets 2 forms of priority in Fake Out and Ice Shard. Fake Out, probably not going to run that too much, but Ice Shard is really good on Weavile. And then Icicle Crash is also very nice. Having that chance to flinch is always good, as I am sometimes reasonably lucky. Maybe I can get that a few times. Knockoff is also a really good move, of course, getting rid of items. And I would actually say it's probably Weavile's best move. Low Kick is also very nice to have. It's something to hit steel types. Sure, it's not always the strongest move, but sometimes that can work really well. So hopefully I can get that to work at some point. And then Poison Jab to hit fairies is also very good. It gets access to like Sub Punch if I ever wanted to do that. That could be reasonably fun. It gets access to Swords Dance as well, so setting up a Swords Dance, you can literally just do so much damage with this after you have a Swords Dance up, so that's good. It actually gets Quick Attack as well, so it has 3 priority options. I don't think I'm ever going to use Quick Attack, but it gets it. And then it also gets like Parrot Punch, so if I don't want to run SD, if I want to run like Parrot Punch, that could work. Probably won't ever do it, but it's there. Stats-wise, Weavile's bulk is really bad, but, I mean, it's Weavile. It's supposed to be kind of a glass cannon. Not really. I mean, 70 HP is pretty bad, but it doesn't mean I can't take a single hit. Like, base 85 Spadef is actually not terrible for an offensive mon. I mean, I might take a hit on the special side. Probably not 2, but I might take 1. 65 defense definitely isn't good, but again, I could still potentially take a hit or 2. Base 120 attack and base 125 speed are the main things you would want to have for Weavile, though. Those are the important stats, and, you know, those being high is very nice. You know, with a Swords Dance up, Weavile is so powerful, and with base 125, it actually outspeeds so much of the, so many of the mons allowed. I don't know exactly how many mons outspeed it. Quite a few do. I want to say, like, 20, maybe like 30 mons in the format. I don't think there's that many actually, but there are some things that outspeed this. The only ones I can actually think of right now are like Gran and Megalop. There's other stuff. Electrode outspeeds it, because Electrode's the most commonly drafted mon of all time. Anyway, moving on to my tier 3. One of my 2 tier 3s of this draft. Actually, there's 3 tier 3s on the draft, but moving on to my first one, we have Empoleon. I noticed that I definitely didn't have a defogger yet. I also had no way to get hazards up, so I figured grabbing Rocks defog, a mon that gets Rocks and defog is definitely very good. This is normally used as kind of, you know, a support mon with Rocks defog, like maybe like Toxic, Scald, Raw, Ice Beam, other moves. It gets Aqua Jet, which is pretty nice priority, although it doesn't hit too hard normally, because, you know, normally it's used as more of a bulky mon. Physically wise, it also gets like Drill Peck, Earthquake, Brick Break. I want to say, no, it doesn't get Superpower. Waterfall, Shadow Claw, Rock Slide. Special, Surf, Scald, Hydro, Ice Beam, Flash Cannon, and Hidden Power would be the main ones. So, offensive Empoleon definitely isn't the worst thing in the world. Like, agility Empoleon could be a potentially win. It could be a win con at some point of the season. I don't think I'm going to use mainly offensive Empoleon, but it is there as an option, which is very nice to have. Ability-wise, Torrent and Defiant aren't the best abilities, but they're definitely not terrible. Defiant could be good, especially if I am running, you know, an offensive set with like agility. Getting a Defiant boost could be pretty nice. I don't exactly know what move I'd get that off of, but maybe that'd be one I could. Anyway, Torrent is pretty decent, as Empoleon, of course, will eventually get low, and having more power to Scald is also very nice. So, yeah. Stats-wise, Empoleon stats aren't too good. Base 84 HP is not great. Base 88 defense isn't too great. It's alright. Both of those are alright. Base 101 Spadef is decent. I think that's pretty okay. And other stats-wise, it's still also not really that great. Base 86 attack is not too good. It can still do some damage. Base 60 speed isn't good, but I mean, actually it kind of is. Of course, I want to have some decent speed tiers here, and this is now my slowest mon, which, you know, I kind of needed something that was below 80, so, you know, this works. And then base 111 attack is actually pretty decent. You know, if I can, you know, maybe, I guess offensive Empoleon could actually be pretty decent. You know, base 111 attack, maybe put like a weakness policy on it, get that up, and then it could actually do quite a bit. So, yeah, moving on to my next mon, we have Mimikyu. Now, Mimikyu is something that I don't really know how good it's going to be. I just kind of wanted to use this, and I saw it was still around there. At round 5, I didn't have a fairy type. I figured this could work. Of course, the main Mimikyu set you're probably going to see is SD, 3 attacks. I guess maybe Taunt also could be a pretty okay move to have on there. But SD with like Play Rough, Shadow Sneak, Shadow Claw. Even maybe potentially like Wood Hammer, Drain Punch. Those could be decent moves. Leech Life, I guess, also works. I get some pretty nice options. But that's the main thing you want to do with Mimikyu. I've seen some of its work in the past. You know, Will-O-Wisp's a pretty nice move to have. Curse Mimikyu could be kind of interesting. I'd be interested to see if Curse could be a fun move to use. Could be something that could work at some point. And then also Destiny Bond is also a pretty nice move. If I'm able, you know, being able to use that on something that is pretty threatening towards my team in this matchup could be very good for me, putting myself in a decent position in that match. Now, the main thing about Mimikyu that makes it a good mon is, of course, that ability. Disguise is such a good ability. You know, it means you have to. It's pretty much like you have a sub in front of you. Now, they can't. You can be like Toxic or Wisp or Paralyzed behind the sub, but I mean behind the disguise. But if they attack you, the disguise will be broken first and do no damage to you, which is amazing. So yeah. Moving on to Mimikyu's stats, its stats definitely aren't too good. Base 55 HP is terrible, base 50 attack's terrible, but this is never going to be a special attacker anyway. Base 80 defense is pretty okay, or not, no, it's bad, especially with the really low HP. And base 105 Spadef normally would be good, but with the base 55 HP, is kind of still terrible. Base 90 attack is pretty bad, but you know, considering you're normally going to be trying to get a Swords Dance up on Mimikyu, after a Swords Dance it becomes pretty good. So there's that. And then of course the base 96 speed, which isn't great, because I do have one mon above base 100 right now, but you know, I feel like Mimikyu would be a lot better if it had a bit higher speed, a bit higher attack, but you know, it's just the thing with Mimikyu, you know, higher stats on any mon would make them better. So yeah, moving on. So for my other tier 3, I decided to grab Tornadus Eye. So this is another mon that I don't know. I kind of wanted to use this, but I also kind of got recommended to use this, so that's why it's here. Torn Eye is pretty nice. A pretty nice support mon with Prankster, of course. So that means priority Defog, priority like even Bulk Up, priority Tailwind could be very nice. Could come in pretty handy at some point. Or even like priority, I guess Toxic. This thing doesn't get like Wisp or T-Wave, so Toxic, Taunt, priority Taunt could be very good for me. And then offensive Taunt is also pretty nice. Acrobatics or Hurricane, Heat Wave, Superpower. I want to say it gets Focus Blast. It does not. Let me have a look actually. Oh, it does get Focus Blast. So yeah, that's pretty nice. Dark Pulse, Crunch, Hidden Power, Grass Knot. You know, this thing is going to be hitting pretty powerfully on the special side, which is always nice. I believe it actually has pretty good attack and special attack, which is good. Priority subs can be pretty helpful if, I don't know if that would ever like come in handy, but I guess it could be. And then having that U-turn momentum on something on this team is at least good. I believe this is actually the only one on my team that gets U-turn or Volt Switch, so you know, it gives me a bit of momentum, not too much, but at least I have a bit. So moving on to the stats, Torn's stats actually are pretty good, other than the bulk. The bulk, you know, base 79 HP, base 70 defense, base 80 speed def, not too good, but it can take a hit or two, which is fine. Base 111 speed is very nice. It fills in a pretty nice gap for me, because I believe from here my speed has actually went from 96 to 125. So filling in right in the middle there at 111 is very nice to have. And then base 115 attack and base 125 special attack are really good. This thing, if I use it correctly, it can be a very strong wall breaker for me and can work pretty well. So yeah, moving on to my next pick, I decided to pick up another tier 3 as my next free pick, and that is P2. I love this mon. This is one of my favorite bulky mons to use. I've used P2 in PCLD League. I believe I have used it a few times before that. I don't exactly remember where, but I definitely have used it before that. This thing just lives hits. With the EVLite, P2 can live hits, and it's so good. And it's not like it's even that weak. It can do a lot back with like a Tri-Attack or Shadow Ball, T-Bolt, Ice Beam, Discharge. You know, it doesn't have great options, but the things it does have, it can hit pretty hard with. All three of its abilities are useful, which is great. Trace, Download, and Analytic all have, you know, their own good things about them. One thing I don't exactly like about P2 is, you know, it kind of feels like it's item locked towards EVLite. Like, if you don't run EVLite, P2 cannot be too bulky, which I guess, to be fair, if you want to run an offensive P2, there are some other item options, but EVLite P2 is definitely going to be where I mainly want to go with this. So, yeah. Moving on to stats, it doesn't have great stats for a wall, but the EVLite definitely helps it become a bit bulkier. With base 85 HP, base 90 defense, base 95 speed F, which is all pretty okay. Base 80 regular attack is alright. Base 60 speed definitely isn't great, but I believe that is now my slowest mon. Actually, is that tied with Empoleon? I'm pretty sure it's the same speed tier as Empoleon as my slowest mon right now. Actually, pretty sure this is my slowest mon on the draft, tied with Empoleon. I could be wrong. We'll get there in a second. And then base 105 special attack is actually pretty good. Offensive P2 could be very nice, and even bulky P2, it can still hit pretty hard even with no special attack investment. So, yeah. My next one's Ditto. So, I mean, there isn't much to say with Ditto. I'm normally just gonna bring Scarf with, you know, what's the ability called? Imposter. Scarf Imposter, and then, you know, I don't know what moves I'm gonna run, because it's gonna be their movesets. I don't know what investments I don't know what my stats are really gonna be, because, I mean, Ditto's stats regularly, normally are base 48 across the board. That doesn't matter, though, since it just takes all the stats of your opponents other than the HP. So, yeah, that's Ditto. Let's move on to the next one. So, coming on to my last 3 mons of the draft. Next up, we have Uxie, or Uxie, whatever you want to call it. Now, Uxie's a pretty good mon overall. Levitate's a great ability. It means, you know, I don't really feel like I had a ground weakness at all, but it gives me another option to take ground hits along with Taunt. Has some pretty great options. This thing actually has decent options on physical and special side, which is nice. You're mainly going to want to use this as somewhat of a bulky support mon with like Rocks, Taunt, Toxic, U-Turn. Taunt's not the only mon that gets U-Turn or Volt Switch, huh? So those are the moves you're mainly going to want to run. Psychic's also pretty common. I mean, like even like T-Bolt, Shadow Ball, Hidden Power could be pretty nice. You could run maybe physical with moves like Ice Punch, Knock Off, Fire Punch, Punch moves. You know, those ones. Either way, I mean, Uxie's a pretty okay mon, and the main thing you're going to want to have Uxie for is defense. This thing is a pretty great tank. Base 75 HP is not great, but I feel like the defenses on this one do make up for it, as you do have base 130 on both physical and SPDF, and special defense, so that's good. And then base 75 on both attacks isn't great, but as I said, this is mainly going to be used as a wall, and it can still do some damage. And then base 95 speed is also pretty nice. I mean, it's not great speed tiers to use with the rest of the team, since I'm pretty sure that's the same speed tier as Zygarde exactly, and then only 1 point below Mimikyu, so I have kind of 3 mons at the same speed tier, so that's not great. But other than that, I do like Uxie, and I'm glad that I have it on this draft. Moving on to my second to last mon, we have 2 tier 5s to round out the draft. We have Zeb Striker. This is a mon I'm excited to use. I don't know why specifically Zeb Striker is a mon I'm excited to use, but I just am. Straight away, all 3 of its abilities are good. Lightning Rod and Motor Drive are both really good. Motor Drive is if you get hit by an electric move, you get +1 speed. Lightning Rod, if you get hit by an electric move, you get +1 attack. Both of those are very useful to this mon, as this thing is mostly going to be used as an offensive mon. An offensive threat could be very nice as one of those. And Sap Sipper is also a great ability. I feel like some players in here may forget about Sap Sipper as an ability for Zeb Striker, and that could be very, very good for me. If they do, as, you know, then I believe it gives me a +1 attack, which could be decent. I mean, if I want to go like physical Zeb Striker, that could be pretty okay. So, move-wise, this thing doesn't have great options. Flame Charge is pretty nice to have just to boost speed if you want to do that. Then you have like T-Bolt, Volt Switch, Wild Charge, Signal Beam, Overheat. Does this thing not get Flamethrower? I thought it did. It does not. That surprised me. I thought it did. So, other than that, I mean, it gets like Low Kick or Pursuit. I guess Return as well. So, physical Zeb Striker could be okay. Special Zeb Striker, of course, Overheat, T-Bolt, Volt, HP, whatever. It still gets some options. So yeah, I mean, the options on this aren't great. I mean, you have like T-Wave as well. But options on this aren't great overall, but it's tier 5. And I think for a tier 5, it's pretty good at what it does do, which is hitting things and having a good amount of speed. So base 100 physical attack is pretty great. Base 80 special attack is not great, but it can work. And base 116 speed is really good. I believe that makes it just like 5 points faster than my Torn, so filling in the gap a bit between my Torn and Weavile, so that's something. Defenses wise, this isn't great. Base 75 HP is pretty weak, and then 63 on both defenses is terrible. But for a tier 5, I think this is a good one. Now, rounding out the team, we have a Pokemon I don't actually know if I want to talk about too much, because I don't plan on keeping it on the draft. I kind of wanted to grab a meme pick and grab Ferret, and I regretted it pretty much instantly, and I will be dropping this Mon at some point, but it's on the team now, so I feel kind of obligated to speak about it. So, it has bad stats, and it has bad moves, and it has Runaway as an ability. I mean, Frisk is like the only good ability for this. What does Keenai actually do? I guess Keenai could be decent, but Frisk is just better. Item-wise, like, Scarf is the item that I feel like every Ferret I've ever seen, I'm pretty sure is Scarfed, so it's like, it's kind of the only option. Get some pretty okay physical options, you know, Aqua Tail, Brick Break, Double Edge, Facade, Fire Punch, Focus Punch, Frustration, Return, Knock Off, Power Punch, Quick Attack, Sucker Punch, U-Turn. It's not great. I don't know why I'm talking about this Mon. I'm dropping it, so I haven't actually dropped it yet, and I just realized I'm pretty sure week 2 starts today. So if I don't drop it today, then I'm keeping this for week 2. So that's cool, but by week 3, I will have dropped it for something. I probably won't drop it tonight, thinking about it, because I need to talk with the people who I build with to see what they think I should drop it for. I got one of their opinions the other day, but I need to know what the other one thinks. So yeah, expect for it to be here for 2 weeks. Probably won't bring it, but it's here. So yeah, so that is going to be my draft analysis for not PCL, I was about to say PCL D-League, but this is definitely not the PCL D-League, this is the IBL. And yeah, I'm really excited to use this team. Week 1 we are taking on Maralt and the Slow Bros, not Slow King, Slow Bros. And yeah, hopefully we can start off with a win. So thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and goodbye, and goodbye.